fair few points. It's probably cost them a place at Wembley as well, if we're honest. Because if they'd have had anything like that, the first team, you'd have fancied them to get past Coventry in the quarter-final. But it's still the fact that they were safe pretty much by January in a season where they'd sold more than £100 million worth of players, and everyone thought they were going to struggle. So, although where they've picked the points up has meant it's been a bit of an anticlimax at the end of the season, shouldn't lose sight of the fact that it has been an excellent campaign for Wolves, all told, hasn't it?
It's been a fantastic campaign. You've got a situation where a few days before the season starts, the manager, who did a magnificent job keeping them up last year with no real goal-scoring threat, leaves the club. You bring in someone else who everybody says, oh, he's cheap and cheerful, he's just coming in, like, it's not going to cost us too much money. He organises the side, and from the first game against Man United, where they should have got something from the game and they could rightly feel they were robbed, they have, up till Christmas, they have performed superbly well. They've nicked points where they could, they've been very well organised, they've done ever so well. What they've had, they've run out of players, they've had players that have got injured, they've had no goal threat towards the end of the season as well because they had players injured. They finally got them back. So on the balance, I know it's disappointing how it's petered away a little bit, but if you look at it in the big picture, Gary O'Neill will look at it with his staff and say, we've done a superb job here. What we need now is a bit of help so we can actually take this thing further forward.
So Ryan, it's 5 more points than last season, 19 more goals than last season, which I think Wolves have been a lot more easier on the eye at times, haven't they, this campaign? And it's been quite exciting when they have had some of the players in full flow. It sounds as if Gary O'Neill's initial meeting with Jeff Sheep was quite productive, that they don't have to sell anybody, but I think they're going to have to wheel and deal a little bit in the market this summer. So again, been asking Villa fans which player they think they'll lose, which big player. If Wolves do have to lose one or two to bring in 3, 4, 5, then which ones would you be least upset about seeing depart?
I think we've all accepted now that Pedro Neto has probably played his last game for Wolves. If he'd have kept fit, I mean, we'd have probably got an extra 20 or 30 million. Now we're looking probably more 40, 50 because of his hamstring issues and his injury record. So more like around the 50 mark. Man United touted looking at Max Kilman. Aït-Nouri was one of Wolves' few good players today, so there'll be players like that. I mean, I'll be gutted to see João Gomez and Cunha go. I think they're the guys you build the team around next season. But
what about Semedo? Because Semedo's got a year. Obviously, he's banned for the first 3 matches of next season now.
Yeah.
Anyway, Semedo.
I think. Yeah, there's also talk of Jose Sarr and Semedo probably going to Saudi and being part of that £500 million that the Saudi leagues have got to spend in the summer. So that wouldn't surprise me at all, and I'd be gutted because Nelson's probably had his best season. He's not ended it very well, but he's had his best season for Wolves in a Wolves shirt, and he looked like for this season, he looked like a £30 million right back. Maybe not so much today, but he's had his best season. But 1 year left in his contract, 31 years old. Wolves are probably going to want to recoup a little bit of money from one of their highest earners.
So sum the season up overall then, because, and I think we do a lot of this, but if back in August we'd have said that you'd finish with 46 points, scored 19 more goals and be mid-table, admittedly we were talking about 7th at one point this season, if somebody had offered you this back in August, would you have taken it?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just talking with the boys on the podcast then. We talked about the start of the season. I said the squad was capable of finishing 12th, but we all, with the circumstances, we'd all taken 17th at the start. So I think Gary O'Neill built himself up enough credit to have a bad run. Yes, it's a bad run. He's admitted himself he could do things better and his team wasn't recognisable a game or so ago back. He's not perfect. He knows it not himself, but Wolves need stability now. So let's give Gary a pre-season. Let's do a bit in the window for him, because I think he has shown promise. Doubling Spurs, doubling Tottenham, beating Man City. So with his players, he has produced some fantastic performances. But on a limited squad, it's understandable we've drifted out. Although O'Neill isn't totally blameless for the season drifting out as well. So he has to take some responsibility of that. But the squad needs some serious work.
Yeah, and I think it's also, before we're going to hear from Maximilian Kilman very shortly, then from Gary O'Neill, it is worth pointing out to Gary Thompson as well that this is Gary O'Neill's first full season as a manager. And obviously he had like 6 months at Bournemouth last year. He's never had a pre-season as a manager as well. I mean, how important is that for building what you want to do, Tomo?
Well, for any manager, you want your players together for a period of time, whether you go on pre-season tours or whatever. You need a spell, you get the players together, impress upon them what you want to do. Gary O'Neill had about 3 days to go to Old Trafford to have to start impressing on his team what he wants and get them into a way of playing, and he managed to do that. And okay, he fell away towards the end of the season, and a lot of the Wolves fans will be disappointed if he fell away, but most people looking on the outside look at that and think that's an unbelievable job he did, because he did have a lot to work with to start with. He had no goals in his lock, he's managed to get goals out of the team as well, and of course he got injuries, and they didn't help him at Christmas when they had to really back him a little bit. And I think, okay, Gary has to take responsibility as a manager at times as well, but you have to look at what he was working with. And in the end, come Christmas, when he needed, he actually told them, we are going to run out of bodies here. Yeah. You need to do something. He told them that. They never did anything. So why were they surprised that 2 months of the season to go, they were running out of bodies and they were struggling?
Listen, thanks ever so much to Gary Thompson. We'll be back with you very shortly. So, Ryan, you mentioned your podcast, so you've done like a space, just have you, or something. So, when's the next one, the final one of the season?
Yeah, final one of the season will be tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. with BBC's and Sky Sports and ITV's Jackie Oatley, myself and Mark Knock.
There you go. Ryan, thanks for ringing in, mate. 08081 009956. We're going to hear from Gary O'Neill very shortly. But first, Wolves captain Maximilian Kilman.
Well, that was one last creditable effort from you. That's the sort of attitude that you want to strike all the way through.
Yeah, I think especially in the second half, there's a true reflection of us, throughout the whole season. We've had some tough moments, as we saw today, we were descending off, and it reflects in the whole season, because when we had tough moments, we stuck together and, we dug deep, and, to be fair, overall, we can take a lot from this season, and it's a good pedestal to put us into next season.
That must make you proud as a captain to see that even in adversity, and it was pretty tough out there, that your team stood up even on the last day.